Today we are talking about circles, and the standard we will be focusing on is proving and applying geometric theorems and definitions. So we need to get introduced to the standard form of a circle. So you can see that we have x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. So this equation that's boxed in that kind of gray-blue color gives us a few pieces of information. It gives us our location at the center, but notice that the formula has a negative in front of the numbers, which means that whatever numbers we pull out, we have to make sure that we flip those signs. So the number after x is the x value of the center, the number after y is the y value of the center, and the radius is r. And that will end up being squared when we go ahead and plug that into our equation. So r squared means that I have something that's r times r. So we're multiplying that by itself. So when I look at this circle, I want to start off by just identifying the center and the radius. Well, the center is right here, right in the middle, and that coordinate is -3, -3. And the radius is how far the center is from a side of the circle. So you can think about it as kind of, you could go north, south, east, or west. And any of those directions should give you exactly the same number. So when I'm looking at this, I count the number of squares, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this has a radius of 4, and then double check my work, just check one more spot and make sure that I'm getting the same number for both places. Let's try again. So here is my center. That coordinate of that center is -4, +2. And the radius is how far that center goes from to either north, south, east, or west. So if I look here, there's 1, 2, 3 squares. And if I check this direction as well, just to make sure I'm doing my work correctly, I also get 3. And so this is how we find the center and the radius. And we will then use this information in order to write the equation. But let's try one more practice problem before we get going. My center here is located at 3, 3. And the radius 1, 2, 1, 2. So the radius is 2. So what if I give you a coordinate and I tell you that the center is 3, -2, and it has a radius of 4, and now we need to plug in those numbers. Well, we know that the center is what we call h and k. H goes after x, k goes after y, and the radius is our r. So I can start off by just plugging these numbers in. So x minus 3 and y minus -2, and plug in my 4. So a couple things need to happen. I need to go ahead and take care of this negative, negative. When I have two negatives in a row, that will equal a positive. And then I also need to square my 4. So remember, 4 squared is the same thing as 4 times 4, which should give us 16. We can also plug that into our calculator. So my final answer will be x minus 3 squared. That one doesn't change because there's only one negative, plus y plus 2 squared equals 16. And that's my answer. What if I tell you that the diameter of the circle is 10? Well, remember, the diameter is all the way across the circle. So in order to find out the radius, all I do is take that 10 and divide by 2. So the radius is 5. My center is -4, 0. So I know this is my h and my k, and this is where they go in my equation. And I know this is my radius. So -4, 0, and then I have my 5 squared. We need to once again take care of a few things. I've got this negative negative. That's going to end up becoming plus, so x plus 4 squared. Y minus 0, you can leave it like that, but the simplified version of that is just y squared. And then 5 squared, which is 5 times 5, is going to give me 25. So notice how this one looks a little bit different when we have y minus 0 quantity squared just become y squared. But if you see that, then you know that that k value is going to be 0. So let's do the same thing. My center here, 2, negative 9. My radius is the square root of 11. So I'm going to plug all of these in once again. And when I do, I'm going to need to simplify the negative negative. And the square root of 11 would be the square root of 11 times the square root of 11, which is the square root of 121, which just gives us 11. And if you were to put that in your calculator, you should end up with the same answer. So the way I would write this equation would be x minus 2 squared plus y plus 9 squared equals 11. So let's go ahead and put it all together with everything that we've done today. So if I start with my circle, I need to start by finding that center. And the center here is 1, 0. And then I need to find the radius. So I count how far, north, south, east, or west, and count the number of blocks. So there's 4, and I just want to make sure I didn't make a little mistake. So I'm going to count one more time, and I still get 4. So I know that this is my H, my K, and my R, and those are going to get plugged into the correct spots on my equation. So when I get that, I'm then going to get x minus 1 squared plus y, and you can write minus 0, but remember we can also just leave it as y squared, and then 4 squared is 16. And so that is my equation.